Hey, it's John and Mike, brew-shoots.com, and it's that time again. I hope you had a good summer here in the Northern Hemisphere. And for our Australian viewers, hopefully you got through winter. But about 3 months ago, I pulled out this round wooden symbol of beer styles from the Jar of Destiny. And I got from the 2015 BJCP Guidelines 7C Kellerbier Pale Kellerbier. If you look at the 2021 BJCP guidelines, they threw this style into 27A, along with 8 other styles. But this one was still valid in 2015. It's funny how our history changes as time goes on. All right, so description of this beer. It's a very common seasonal summer beer, brewed by many of the Munich area breweries and served in the beer gardens where they are very popular. If you say so. Okay, the appearance should be slightly hazy to moderately cloudy, but never extremely cloudy or murky. Medium yellow to pale gold color. Aroma is moderately low to moderately high, spicy floral or herbal hop aroma. Flavor is moderately malty with rounded, grainy, sweet profile, low to moderately high, spicy floral or herbal hop flavor with some moderate hop bitterness that can linger. Finishes crisp and dry, but the aftertaste remains malty. Okay. Mouthfeel is medium body. Overall impression, a young, fresh Helles. While it's still a malty, fully attenuated Pils malt showcase, the hop character is more pronounced. And the beer is cloudy, often with some level of diacetyl. Well, I don't want that. I said that's not going to be a part of my beer. All right, let's talk about the recipe. This is the Brew Dudes Kellerbier, Pale Kellerbier. This is for a 5-gallon batch. The grains, 11 pounds, 4.99 kilograms of Dingemans Pilsner Malt. That's 88% of the bill. 1 pound of Weyermann's Vienna malt, 8% of the bill, and 8 ounces or 227 grams of biscuit malt from Dingemans, 4% of the bill. Hops, I'm going to hold off. Surprise you later. The yeast was 1 packet of Safe Lager W34/70. I did a 1 liter starter before brew day because, you know, you're not supposed to do a starter with dry yeast. Why? But I thought I'd do it anyway. Spring water was the water. I threw in 4 grams of gypsum during the boil. Mass of grains at 150 degrees Fahrenheit, 66 Celsius, 60-minute boil for 75 minutes. Hops were added with 60 minutes to go in the boil. We chilled that to 60 degrees Fahrenheit or 16 degrees Celsius. Pitched the yeast, fermented in a keg for 2 weeks in the fridge at that same temp. And then we cold crashed for 3 days. And then I closed transferred to a clean and sanitized keg, which is what we force carbonated and served this. The specs for this beer: 1052 starting gravity, finishing gravity 1012, ABV 5.25%. So that is the Pale Kellerbier from the Jar of Destiny Brew Dudes session and series. So, you know, tried to do this young, so, you know, we're 3 weeks and a couple of days from brew session.
Sounds about right for a Kellerbier.
Try to make it nice and fresh for this video. So, what are your impressions?
It's awful. No, it's
all of that, and then you sledgehammer me. That's terrible.
The nose is great. I get a subdued amount of floral, herbal type of aroma, but it's not nearly as strong as, like, I do get a nice like graininess, more of like just a blanket, like a cereal grain type nose to it. It's not really crackery. It's almost more like Cheerio-like, but it's definitely a grainy aroma, infusing pretty well with that subtle herbalness. And then the flavor hits you first. I mean, the malt character is pretty nice in there. I like it. And it really supports the flavor of the whole thing all the way through. It's a little bit like malty sweet, but there's a little bit of like bread dough in there. I love it. I love that character. And then it lets itself go to that spicy herbal hop thing.
Mhm.
The bitterness is low moderate, I would say, for sure. The malt, but it's, it's there. It's enough with the malt, but it's definitely I would ever put this just on the other side of malt forward, but with enough hop. We talk about malt backbone, but this just has enough hop backbone to sort of support a nice maltiness. It's super drinkable.
Oh yes, one
It
of the
seems like
descriptors. We drink this in liters.
yeah. It
Liters.
seems like seems pretty drinkable. It's got a nice malt sweetness to it. I like that. Yeah, I mean it's crisp. I think I'm getting a little bit of that minerality, a little bit maybe from the sulfate, the gypsum.
Mm-hmm.
It's working. The hops and that sulfate's probably coming together pretty nicely to work here. I like it.
All right. Well, let's reveal the hops. This has 2 ounces of homegrown Magnum hops from the 2023
Okay,
harvest.
fascinating.
I needed to make some room in my freezer and had some from last year.
2 ounces.
Yep, threw
Awesome.
2 ounces at 60 minutes ago in the boil, and that's what produced this. I think that plant, I've never had that tested, but I bet you the alpha acids on that are pushing, I'd say between 15 and 20% on that.
Yeah, you
Pretty
think so?
probably.
I mean, for 2 ounces in a 5-gallon vat, right?
Yeah.
I was gonna whatever it is. I was gonna say maybe it's lower than that because 2 ounces at 15 alpha acid to me would be pretty bitter.
Yeah.
But then again, let's bring in the conversation about Massachusetts grown Magnum, and maybe the quality is just a little bit different in terms of without knowing the real chemistry of the hops. I think that
Hard to say.
to me it doesn't seem as bracingly bitter as I would expect. Though, and that's the only hop addition.
Totally.
I would expect this to be more bracingly bitter, 2 ounces of like a 15, 17%. But whatever that, and for me to get a little bit of the aroma, and then there's definitely a spicy quality. Whatever it is that's in there sort of lasted through that boil process for just a single addition. Maybe that's 2 ounces worth of it too, right?
Yep.
I think that was a good move, man. I think that was a good move because most continental European, certainly German, whatever hops, I recently listened to a podcast on this too, but it's no secret if you're buying Satz, Hallertau, all those hops, they're struggling to get over even 3% alpha acid, right? Which means what? Using a ton of it to get, so you're forced to go into like a Magnum or a Warrior just to bitter and then use some of those to get that noble character. Yeah. But these homegrown hops, I'm blown away. So you're just going to pour another one of these for the harvest ale and call it, say, here you go. No, I'm just kidding. This is great. I think this is great. I'm really blown away how much that hops have. I think the 2 ounces, I think you nailed it taking a shot in the dark for how much to use because I think it's balanced it pretty well.
Yeah, I think years of experience with maybe not the that particular hop plant, but using homegrown hops and knowing that I have to add a larger amount to get the same type of experience that one would get out of a packet I bought from the store.
Yeah.
I think that's what led me to go for it.
Yeah.
I had some data that I was working with, right? But
I think this is what I expect out of a Kellerbier. I mean, there's a hint of sulfur in there, which whether it's there or not, there's a hint of sulfur there, which makes me buy into the Kellerbier thing even that much more, right? Because it hasn't been lagered for an extended amount of time.
Just a week, yeah.
Brewed and cold crashed essentially and carbonated and served, and that's a Kellerbier. So it really fits the story perfectly well, and it works. Those subtle flavor aroma cues make it feel like it's on its way to lager greatness.
Yeah.
But I'm going to drink this portion now because it's good.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yep,
To me, I think that's probably where Kellerbier really comes from, is like, hey, we have some barrels in the caves. Let's go drink some.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's not wait.
We really have to wait until April, So it's like,
a couple of months in, I'm thirsty.
Yeah.
So just to wrap it up, most of the recipes I saw called for Perla hops. So that's why I said I'll just use the Magnum that I have in my freezer that I grew last year.
Cool.
I think to put a bow on it all, you talked about the minerally essence, and I'm glad that I threw in some gypsum. I think this yeast strain, you know, the 3470, at that temp, I mean, it fermented very strongly. I was going to swear, but I'm not going to. Very strongly. I had a blow-off tube coming off the keg and had it in a pint glass filled with water, and to hear that lub, 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 that was a good sign the next day. And then I think I had to sneak in some Vienna. I know that part of the jar of destiny is not to brew another Vienna lager, but you know, a lot of recipes were calling for Munich, and I thought I'd be a little bit different. Throw in, you know, 8% of Vienna malt, and then a little biscuit malt for that extra.
I think the biscuit malt is like making this happen for me.
Cool.
That's where that Cheerio, that almost nutty cereal grain thing's coming from, and playing a little bit with the Vienna, for sure.
Totally. All right. Well, I'm happy with it. When I first tapped it, I was like, oh, this smells like beer. You know, it's got that classic noble aroma, and I was pretty psyched with that. So, and everything finished clean. So
phenomenal, love it.
Cool. All right, great success with the jar. Thanks, jar. I think I met your expectations or beat them. Can't wait for the next beer that we taste. What we got? We got a Belgian Pale.
Belgian Pale Ale.
Belgian Pale. That's going to be the next video that you'll see. All right. Well, hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you got a little history lesson. It's now in a different category altogether for 2021, but don't you worry about it. Still, you can brew a lager that's probably made for, you know, excellent drinking experiences 4 months down the lane, but feels good after 3 weeks after the brew session too. All right, give us a big thumbs up if you like this video. Subscribe to our channel. We do this kind of thing every single week. Certainly we'll do this again next week. We'll drink another Jar of Destiny beer. For John and Mike, brew-dudes.com. Brew on.
Cheers.